I'm a capitalist delight right now. I'm gonna be real. Sorry, I'm pulling up the script because you think I can go off the dome? What am I, fucking Penguin Zero? The new season of Rick and Morty is good. How is it good? Rick and Morty has gotten a lot of flack that you could argue it deserves. I mean, have you seen the incest baby episode? It's basically a war crime. Whoever wrote that probably needs to be taken behind a shed and hit over the head with a brick. But I think the show gets shit on a little bit too hard. I mean, even at Rick and Morty's worst, it's not a terrible show, okay? It's not like Brickleberry or Young Prince or insert other shitty adult animation that there are plenty of nowadays. My theory of what happened is that Rick and Morty started off so red hot from season 1 to 4 at a time where we really needed an adult cartoon that didn't suck cock because Family Guy was starting to become dog shit. The Simpsons was basically a rotting dead carcass at that point. So Rick and Morty was a fresh breath air, honestly, for the adult animation industry. That makes it sound like porn. It's not porn. But after season 4, the show did the equivalent of Hitler entering Russia, okay? It shot itself in the foot. So today we're gonna talk about how the show went into the shitter and how I have a little bit of hope for the future. So without further ado, I'm Bradley, and I made a YouTube video.
On YouTube.
How you doing? My name's Randy. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, or I'll fucking kill myself. I'll kill you. Is it worth it? Is it worth all the innocent lives? I'll fucking skin you alive.
To say Rick and Morty was massive at its peak, Ninja, shut the fuck up. To say Rick and Morty was massive at its peak is a massive understatement, because I think it was at like the center of pop culture for a very short period of time. It was this wacky ass show about a Doc and Marty ripoff who go on adventures and shove seeds up their ass and stuff, you know? It was silly, it was wacky, but it could also tug at your heartstrings. Like when Rick was gonna blow his brains out in that one episode. I was so sad, dude. I was black pilled. Top 10 saddest anime moments. Rick and Morty at its peak deserved all the hype, honestly, because I went back and watched some episodes from like 7 years ago, and they still hold up today. 7 years ago. Am I getting old? Am I gonna die? Does time keep moving on the never-ending march of time as the universe ever expands and the world turns to dust? But overall, I thought the episodes were great, man. Rick was a fucking mess still, but he wasn't a dick like in the later seasons. He wasn't an unlikable dick. He had some charm to him. He showed that he still loved Morty, even in his own drunken, abusive way. At least he showed that he like gave a shit, you know? Reminds me of my dad. But not the giving the shit part, the drunken part. Morty was like generally a normal kid in the early episodes, like a high school kid. He wanted to do what was right on the adventures he'd go on with Rick, and he was like the moral compass. He was a good contrast from Rick's nihilism and apathy. He was also a little pussy. Beth wasn't nearly as much of a bitch as she is in the later seasons when the show started. She was actually more of like an actual mother character. Her flaw in the show at the start was that she loved her dad too much, and Rick would take advantage of her love for him by stealing her son. And then every time he stole her son, he'd be like, yeah, but your mom would have loved this. Also, she had a job. Like, I don't know what happened in the later seasons, but she's like a horse surgeon or whatever, and it's like an actual big thing in the early seasons. Like, that's her job. What happened? Like, they don't ever show it ever again after like season 4. Does she get fired? Give me some closure. Summer's not that different, to be honest. Like, she's never really been that big of a character, except when they try to make her, and that's honestly never gone well. Jerry also didn't change that much. He's like still a pathetic little pissant at the start, but I'd say if anything, he has a little bit more respect in the family. He's not just treated like a little baby. I put Gene on the list. I don't know why I put Gene on the list. I just fuck with him. Look at that guy. Good looking dude. The difference in the earlier seasons is all of these characters got ample screen time, which was very important because I know the show is called Rick and Morty, but the side characters also play an integral part to the world. And you see them a lot less in the later seasons, and they don't get as big of a part, which I think is really tragic because I enjoy seeing the little side episodes, dude. Give me more Jerry episodes. We'll go into that later. Jerry episodes. Good episodes. Anyway, Rick and Morty was set up for success, man. IMDb was giving them like Remy's left and right. They were getting critical acclaim. They won like, I think they fucking won an Emmy. You could say that Rick and Morty was on the top of the proverbial cartoon world. Season 1, a great season to establish dynamics, getting the world set up. They did a good job. Season 2, they further pushed on those dynamics. They had that cool cliffhanger where Rick goes to prison. Season 3, they sold it. They sold the cliffhanger, but still a good season nonetheless. Season 4 is where they started to take a step back, but you could also argue they had some of their best episodes, like the Vat of Acid episode. But there was also a slight character change in Rick, where he became even more of a prick and kind of an apathetic asshole. It's really where they started pushing the smartest man in the universe shtick, which I personally thought was retarded. This is the same guy that got like stranded on a purge planet because he got stabbed with like a fork by some random teenage girl. But needless to say, Rick and Morty was shaping out to be a hood classic, okay? It was gonna be up there with The Simpsons and Family Guy of adult comedy animation Mount Rushmore, okay? It was on that track. And as long as the writers didn't assassinate all the characters and shit on all the storylines and make the show completely pointless, they'd be sailing smooth, dude. You already know they did it. I just set that up. That was a setup transition.
You gotta get Swifty.
Somehow Rick and Morty went from King Midas, turning everything that they touch into gold, to Richard the shit sandwich in like one season. It's actually impressive to me how fast the show fell in quality. Season 5 was a big fucking disappointment, to say the least. They built up Evil Morty as this like huge villain, this super villain, this fucking WWE heel wrestler super villain, and the climax of his story was that he walked through a portal. I don't know, that ending just didn't sit well with me. I thought they kind of fumbled that storyline, but they surely wouldn't do that again. Right? Rick Prime. Cool idea. He's the one that killed Diane and killed all the Rick's Dianes. Very cool idea. I thought it was epic, but execution, terrible. They did a terrible job. Terrible job at executing it. Rick is technically finding him after like 3 seasons. He's tracking him down. It takes like an episode and then he kills him. So it was 3 seasons of buildup and 1 episode of dog shit. This was when Rick and Morty started proving to me that they really struggle at actually finishing through on the shit they set up. And it's not just the storylines that got fucked up too. It's all the characters were like assassinated, basically. They all got flanderized to shit. The writers really ran with this Rick is the smartest guy in the universe shtick in these later seasons, and it's so pretentious. It's fucking annoying, dude. He turns into this like complete asshole, which before he wasn't a great guy, but at least you could tell he loved his family in his own twisted way. But like season 5 to 7, it just seems like he doesn't really give a shit about like if Morty lives or dies or if his family lives or dies. He doesn't give a shit about anything. He's like fighting Zeus and stuff. He's like pretty much invincible.
Are you sure?
He's pretty much invincible. So it's impossible to root for this apathetic asshole, and I refuse to do it. Jerry turned his little bitch level up to like 1,000, and he lost all of his respect in the family. They treat him like a literal toddler, and an annoying one at that, because he is that annoying. Morty became a dickhead too. He's way less empathetic than he was. He's no longer the moral compass or the voice of reason. He's just kind of like more like Rick now. His character development wasn't as bad as Rick's, but it's still like impossible to root for him too, because he's still kind of a dick now. Summer again, I don't know, she's Summer. Beth easily turned into the worst character in the show. She is a complete bitch, a terrible mother, a drunk, a terrible wife, and worst of all, Rick clones her, and then that whole like clone having sex with herself storyline starts, and it's just fucking awful, dude. Space Beth, I hope they kill her off, like kill Space Beth, dude. So now there was no one to root for in the show, which can technically work theoretically. I mean, it works in all Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but that's because that's the whole point of the show, is that everybody's a dickhead and the writers don't want you to like them. It's not the same in Rick and Morty. The story sucking dick and the characters starting to suck dick wasn't even the biggest problem either. The biggest problem was the meta. Meta is roll generic definition off Google of meta. Yeah, that's meta. It's basically self-awareness. Meta-irony is self-awareness of self-awareness, and that's something that Rick and Morty wouldn't stop doing from seasons 5 to 7. Meta-irony can work, but it's like garlic, okay? If you put a little bit into your dish, it makes it a little better. But if you pour the whole fucking thing, you're basically eating Mario's ass. What I'm saying is the writing got too cute, okay? It got too cute. I could literally imagine the writers jacking each other off every time I watch an episode. It's funny because they replace good writing with good writing. You know what they say? You can be self-aware about being a shitty writer, but it doesn't make you any less of a shitty writer. The meta was so overused, and the worst part is the fan base was like partially to blame. The fan base of Rick and Morty were the ones that gassed up the smartest show on television thing, which again, pretentious. Like, come on, dude, it's Rick and Morty. It's not like peak Game of Thrones or like Breaking Bad or some shit. It's fucking Pickle Rick, dude. You got Pickle, and they're the ones who plastered Pickle Rick everywhere and shoved it down my ass. The Rick and Morty fan base did the worst thing that you can do to your own franchise. They shoved it down people's throats, all right? They did too much. They were doing too much. It's like Taylor Swift fans, Swifties, when they say that fucking Taylor Swift's music is the next Shakespeare. It makes everyone that's not a fan, and most of the time casual fans, start to like despise the show or the product. Yapping about a show being the smartest thing on television and being too stupid to watch it if you don't like it started to make people get really sick of the show. Rick and Morty slowly became irrelevant. Okay, well, not irrelevant on a general like term here, but it lost a lot of the respect it had, which is 100% justified subscribe, because why should I care about your story if the writers don't even give a fuck about it? And it was honestly just a slow and painful process. The show earned a lot of leeway from seasons 1 to 4, and it just slowly started unraveling until the show was like a fucking shell of what it was.
Yo guys, it's me, Charlie. Hey, did that guy just turn into sand?
I remember watching up until the giant incest baby episode, and then I was just like, yeah, that's enough of that. And the fact that the giant incest baby made more than one appearance is just a fucking telltale to the show and how far it fell. If there was a silver lining to be had on seasons 5 to 7 of Rick and Morty, it was that it made the writers wake the fuck up. I think it made them realize that they can't just coast off of their like previous successes unless they want to become like The Simpsons or something. The best analogy I can give for Rick and Morty is that the show is like a championship boxer that's on top of the world, you know? It's like at peak fighting form. It just won the championship belt after kicking everybody's ass, and then it became complacent, okay? It became complacent and lazy, and then some up-and-coming fighter knocked it the fuck out, and now it has two options. It can either, one, get back to the gym, train, and get back to its former glory, or two, it can lay down and die and fade into obscurity. And I think Rick and Morty season 8 tells me that they're going for the latter, which is very, very nice.
Swifty, you gotta get swifty in here. It's time to get swifty.
Season 8 is such a fresh breath of air, dude. Oh my God. There's way less stupid gimmicks. The characters became likable again, and there's almost zero meta humor, which, thank God. You've used up your meta card, okay? You used up your meta pass. I'll be taking it now. The show actually brought back what made it good, which was having emotional payoffs in episodes and not just being a nihilistic fucking slog, which was very nice to see because they hadn't done that for like 3 seasons. And not to mention there were some banger episodes, dude. Normoreland, good episode. It's about Jerry who found a cooler Jerry from another dimension, like sneaking around in his house. And it turns out that Jerry came from a dimensional rift that was caused by Rick's constant portal usage, which actually makes sense and is cool. Jerry follows Cool Jerry through these rifts, and they go on like an adventure. They call it the road for Jerry's, because there's a bunch of rifts in different universes that Jerry's just traveled through. And I thought it was a really cool concept. And they also ran into like this alpha mob boss Jerry who runs the road, and he's like the alpha of his Rick. His Rick's like a meth head who he bosses around, and then he strands the Jerrys because our Jerry, the fucking normal Jerry, talks shit to him, and they get stranded in a different timeline. And eventually they make their way back, and you know, episode, you know, happy ending. I think the funniest part of this episode was the ending when Jerry flips over a coaster, which means, and they explain earlier, which means it's safe for Jerry's to go into that dimension on the road, you know? And then Rick's just like, what the fuck was that? What was that? Why'd you do that? And then he looks at the closet and he's like, yeah, you should probably get out of the house anyway. And see, that's called a joke. That's called a joke. And you didn't need any meta for it, did you? That's a decent joke right there. That's a good joke. That made me chuckle. And speaking of great emotional payoffs, the last episode where they wrap up Diane's storyline, they didn't fumble it. Can you believe that? I 100% thought they were gonna fumble it, but they didn't. They actually had a good ending, like a well-written ending for Diane's character, and a wholesome one, an actual like emotional payoff. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. We're back in the saddle, baby. We're back in the saddle. But don't get me wrong, I know I'm hyping this up, but season 8 is not perfect, all right? They have some stinkers in there. They got some poopy. You got the Easter Bunny episode. That was pretty dog shit. That reminded me of the earlier seasons. But to be fair, Rick and Morty has always had some stinkers in every season, okay? That's just Rick and Morty, which is totally fine. It's just like filler in Naruto, except don't make it like Naruto because that's 90% filler. What you don't want to do is make the entire show filler and then have one like actual important episode for the story, which is what seasons 5 to 7 did. They just jack around for 6 episodes and then expect us to pick up on the storyline again. It was terrible. It was like Naruto. Naruto sucks, dude, okay? I could talk about that all day. Naruto kind of sucks. Like, the only reason people like it is because they do cool little fucking power moves. That's the only thing. I don't know if I could put this. I'm gonna get fucking sniped. Get sniped by some weeb. So yeah, the difference between seasons 1 and 4 and 5 and 7 were the amount of filler shitty episodes. That was a really big difference between them. I think season 8 only really had one like stinker in it, like only one shitty episode, and that was the Easter Bunny episode. I can see the old Rick and Morty starting to morph and like break through the little slump it was in. I'm honestly psyched for it. Like, I'm not even trying to be like cynical here. I honestly hope in my heart that Rick and Morty gets back on track. Season 8 wasn't perfect by any means. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't peak Rick and Morty, but you can see the writers trying, and that that is a great thing to see because they have a talented writer room. There are a bunch of talented writers there, a bunch of talent. It's a talented team overall. The show still looks great, but it's nice to see that they're actually starting to understand that they have to continue to try. So with all this, I'm starting to think that Rick and Morty could come back from the dead, Jon Snow style. But hopefully the series doesn't finish out Game of Thrones style. But I'm pretty sure that's impossible because Game of Thrones is the biggest fumble in history since Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. Also, I think it would be really funny if I hyped up this big comeback and season 9 was dog shit. That is, I honestly do think that would be really funny. I hope it doesn't happen, but it would honestly be hilarious, and everyone clip this, all right? But honestly, what do I know? I'm just a southern boy, oil tycoon from Kentucky who's got something to prove. I'm also supposed to tell you to subscribe. You gotta subscribe, apparently. Apparently, you're supposed to do that on YouTube or something. Wait, no, don't focus. I hit the green screen. I'll suck your dick. Hey, don't forget to check out my SoundCloud too, okay? It's the end of the video. I get to plug. I earned it. If you watch this far, you gotta go on to it now. Really good stuff. It's not. Don't look at it. Dust in the wind.